Okay, great. Okay, this is a little funky, so I may not be able to see you, so I'm gonna save the questions till the end, but welcome everyone. My name is Sara Scurfield. I work at Google and I run an e-commerce marketing team. Today I'm here, I'm gonna share some free tools and resources that we have available at Google to help you capture consumer demand for any peak season that you might have. But I want to start it off by acknowledging that it has been an absolutely crazy time these last few months, and it's no different for the e-commerce space. We've seen businesses that I work with that have seen their highest sales ever during this time, and then others have gone to zero. But overall, consumer demand is up. And I heard it referred to as an e-commerce time machine, but it does create a lot of opportunity for those that work in the e-commerce space. And so I wanted to share with you firstly what we're seeing on the Google side of things. I like to think of Google searches sometime as a crystal ball. It's really essentially a proxy for demand. And when you look at these searches in aggregate through some of our tools like Trends, you can see some really interesting things. For example, I pulled out some stats around hobbies and the fact that things like art supplies are up 400%. Fashion and online shopping altogether, a lot of those searches are up triple digits. And then finally, a funny one, meat delivery services are up 1,000% year over year. So who would have known that meat delivery services would be popping this year, but there it is. At Google, we also do a ton of research with Ipsos, and one stat really stuck out for me, which is that 1/3 of Americans plan to try new stores, new shops, new products next year. And I think from an e-commerce perspective, that's really exciting because it provides any new incumbents or new brands to really capture a new audience and think about how they can take more of that demand. So a really great stat for those of you that are just getting started out in the e-commerce space. And as my team was looking to build out our plans for Q4, which is usually typically around the holiday season and then into 2021, we based our findings and our thinking on two main things. One, we're seeing that it's no longer all about Black Friday and Cyber Monday. There's a lot more happening now with everything that's going on, whether it's product launches or flash sales or other events that might be created by marketplaces. E-commerce retailers are having to flex in different ways, and we want to make sure that we're being inclusive of all those events. And then finally, the landscape is more volatile than ever. And so anything our team can do to provide more visibility into the opportunities for e-commerce is better. And so with that, we put together something we're calling the 30-day plan to prepare for peak seasons. And I'm going to run you through the highlights of that plan. It's going to start off with uncovering new opportunities. So in week one, you know that about 4 weeks out, you have a big event coming up, be it Black Friday or whatever it is. The first thing you're going to want to do is make sure that you are sense checking a lot of your decisions and making sure that you've got the baseline right. And I have two tools that have come out in the last year or so, or just launched in North America that I wanted to talk to you about. One is Grow My Store, and the other one is Shopping Insights. When you look at Grow My Store, and you can just Google Grow My Store to get there, think of it as a health check for your website. So you put in the URL of your website and out pops a report. And on that report, you'll be given a list of different criteria with green, yellow, or red. And it will be on everything from how's your mobile speed to do you have the right product descriptions or fulfillment types. And it will direct you to different resources or ways that you can make improvements before you were to take in an influx of volume. So that's your health check. And the other great tool is quite similar to Google Trends, but it's called Shopping Insights. And it was built in particular for e-commerce and retailers. And the reason I love this tool is it's a great way to get insight into products that you may be thinking about launching. Or if you're trying to name a product or come up with a product description, it helps you think about how people are searching and how you can better match up what you're selling with what people are looking for. And so I actually wanted to give you a real life example of how I was using this tool. So if I go to the next slide, I live in Toronto, Canada, and the weather is starting to get a bit cooler. And I'm noticing that outdoor heaters are selling like hotcakes. And so I put outdoor heaters into the Shopping Insights tool. And sure enough, you can see coming into September, there's a nice hockey stick curve for heaters, but there's a lot of really interesting insights in this tool too. For instance, it will tell me, what are people searching for? What brands? And so FireSense, Infratrek, Bromic Heating, these are all brands that are out and being searched for and are very popular. So if you're looking at potentially supplying outdoor heaters, this would be a great way to get that intel. Another way I love to use this tool is in the top left-hand corner, you can see I wrote patio heaters. You can compare against different ways that people talk about things. So you might talk about outdoor heaters or different ways that people speak, and it will give you an idea of how you should name products on your site. The rest of it is pretty similar to Google Trends, but a lot of it is really particular to our ability to look at products and compare them overall. So I encourage you to take a look before you get started on any big event or launching any big products. Okay, so that takes us into week 2 and 3. And week 2 and 3 is all about getting discovered. And for me, sitting where I sit in e-commerce, the products that I love the most for this group are shopping products. And the exciting thing here is that there's a lot of momentum at Google within the shopping products. And we actually just had a launch yesterday where we launched something called Free Listings globally. And what Free Listings is it's our product feed led shopping ads product, but now we're offering it organically or for free. So if you take a look at the slide I have in front here, the top is what you may be used to seeing. So there's ads, which is you can see an image, you can see a product description and a price, and typically that's a paid product. But now we're starting to integrate in free listings into those paid products. So if you're just dipping your toes in the water, or you want to enhance what you're doing from a paid perspective, Free Listings is now available in the US, and it has been available since April, and it's launching in 10 other countries in October. And the other product I wanted to make sure you knew about is something called Smart Shopping. So Smart Shopping, same thing, it's a product feed led product, but it works with machine learning. And so all you have to do is set a specific goal. So for instance, you might say, I need to get $5 back for every dollar I spend. And it will go out across all of Google's products, be it search, display, YouTube, Gmail, and find you as much of that volume as it can for a particular budget. So it's a really turnkey product that has high returns for e-commerce retailers. And that's why it's one of the products that I always recommend when I'm talking to people that are starting out within the e-commerce space. And the nice thing about this is this is co-hosted by Shopify to a certain extent. And so I wanted to bring up that we also have a lot of really strong integrations with platforms, Shopify being one of them. And so if you work with Shopify or another platform, there is an app within their app ecosystem called the Google Channel. And you can download that for free. And it will allow you to pipe in all of your products that you have on Shopify into the Merchant Center directly. And it will help you keep everything up to date. So if you run out of inventory, it's doing checks for you and it will take it out of the feed for you. So it takes a lot of the headaches around managing this type of product for you away by working with this app installation. If you don't work with Shopify or a platform that has an integration, you can always go directly to the Merchant Center. You can use a spreadsheet or any type of sheet and just upload your products that way. But there's a lot of really good options if you want to get involved in this space. So now that you have the app installed or if you signed up for the Merchant Center, the next thing I would advise you to do is to take a look at your product feed and make sure that it's optimized as much as possible. There are a lot of really good trainings on this. In fact, we just launched a Compass course with Shopify a few months ago, directed specifically at smaller SMBs. So if you're in that camp, it's on the Compass course at Shopify. Otherwise, there's tons of resources at Google. But the few things that I always say when I'm talking to e-commerce merchants about product feed optimizations is make sure that you have a really strong product title and make sure that it's specific. You don't want to be too generic. So I put an example here of a bike, but you want to make sure that you're capturing words that people are searching for. So colors, features should all be within your product title if you can. Go ahead and go in and make sure you check your product category. Google will try and give you, put you in a box essentially, and you want to make sure that it's the right box. So if it's sports equipment, you want to be in the product category sports equipment, and then bikes. And so just go in and play around with product category. And then finally, product description. This is when you can go back to some of those tools and make sure that you're using the words that your customers are using in your product description, and that you're being very descriptive, so that when that product feed is coming in and we're scanning to see how we can match it up with what people are looking for, we're finding more matches for you. And then finally, I always advise merchants to spend about 2 weeks practicing before the main event. You never want to go in whole hog right off the bat, or just start the day of your big event. And so what I say here is start at a really low budget for paid ads, pipe in that product feed and start running free listings right away, and get 14 days of learning so you can really figure out, for every dollar that you're spending, what are you getting back in return, and how high can you maximize that at a lower budget before you open up for the bigger event. I also wanted to give you an example of a merchant that we've worked with recently. So we actually just had an interview with, he was a solopreneur out of Hawaii. He runs a company called Pono Hardwood Rings, and he makes rings, as you can see in the picture there. They're really beautiful, and he's a craftsman. He's not a marketer. He doesn't run, or he's not visible on many channels at all. But he downloaded the app about a year ago, and he's been running smart shopping campaigns, and he sees about a 12-to-1 return for his smart shopping campaigns. And so it's just nice to see in real life that people of all sizes are being able to access products through apps like Shopify and use them to create opportunities for their business. And that brings me to the big event. So you're in the week of your big event, it's game time, you've done all your research, you've done all the work ahead of time, and then the only consideration you have here is how involved you want to be and how much detail you need. So if you want a set it and forget it, and to just really concentrate on other things, but make sure you're maximizing this channel for sales, I would recommend going in through the Shopify UI or the app that you're working with on your platform. Oftentimes it's a lot more controlled, so it will just be smart shopping. The only lever you have to pull is budget. So the work that you would need to do is just make sure you know what your return is you're getting, and you've done the math to figure out how much you need to spend to hit those sales targets that you have. So it's really, really basic from that perspective. If you want more control, this is when you would come into the front end, and you can create different campaigns based on profit margins, and you can play around a lot more if that's important to you during this period of time. So really evaluate, how many people you have working with you, how much time you have, what your skill level is, and then there's different options available to you based on that. So that concludes our 30-day plan to prepare for peak seasons. I wanted to leave you with those three main areas. So the first piece is all about those tools I told you about. Go back and check out Grow My Store. Look at the Shopping Insights tool. They're both free and accessible. 2, make sure you're getting discovered. We talked about free listings and being able to boost any of your paid campaigns that you run with the free listings. So make sure that you get on, whether it's through the Shopify channel or directly through the Merchant Center. And then finally, just get ready for that game time. Know your numbers, know how much you need to achieve, and make sure you capitalize as much as possible on that big event. So thank you so much for taking the time today, and I hope you enjoy the rest of the conference. I'm going to close out now, and I'm happy to answer any of those questions because I think we still have some time. All right. So I have Emily here, and she's asking, is Google Shopping free and live in Canada? So Emily, there was an announcement that went out yesterday from Google that it will be live in 10 countries, including Canada. And so expect that to be live for your holiday season and much before that. So check back often. Let's see here. Do transactions take place on Google Shopping or back on the Shopify sites, or do we have the option? So for the products that I talked about in this, they all happen on your site. And I think that's always important to have an element where you think about how you can use Google to drive discoverability and sales, but own that customer relationship. So you might think about, in fact, one thing I didn't talk about because it's a little bit more advanced is that there is now the ability to target new customers through machine learning at Google and through smart shopping. And so once you're more comfortable, you might decide to use Google to generate sales for new customers and then bring them back in through remarketing or through email or through organic or through social. So think about, if you know, we all work within finite budgets, think about the roles that specific players can have for you within your business. All right, Laura's asking, Google channel. I'm a new merchant in Shopify and got all my products approved in Google Merchant Center. I am approved and verified merchant too, but my account is not approved for enhanced product listings. Laura, that sounds like something that we could spend a little bit more time on. So I think if you could potentially just send me a note, I can follow up with you on that. But it sounds like you're well on your way. If you're approved already, it looks like you went through Shopify. And I think what you mean by enhanced product listings is free listings, but correct me if I'm wrong there. Okay, Colin's asking, I may have missed this, but do YouTube shopping campaigns link to Shopify sites as well? YouTube shopping campaigns, so our integration right now covers our shopping products. So I talked about free listings and I talked about smart shopping, and both of those would show up on YouTube. So for instance, if you're watching a video, we might surface a product like I talked about the rings while you're watching YouTube. So from that perspective, you would have some presence and visibility on YouTube. And I think that's what you're asking. So yes, YouTube. Good question. Laura, you can find me on LinkedIn. All right. You're very welcome. All right, I hope that was helpful to you today. Oh, please answer Matt. Okay, Jasmine, I'll answer Matt. So Matt, you're asking, what are the main differences between smart shopping and shopping? Maximize clicks options. Yeah, so smart shopping is, we call it marketing objective focus. So what it does is it's a lot more automated in the way that you go to market with it. So you set a specific objective. So for instance, max clicks isn't one of them, but you could do maximize conversions, maximize conversion value, maximize your return on an ad spend, or maximize your cost per acquisition. Those are some of the targets that you could have within smart shopping. And then you would just set a goal, and then the system goes out and finds as many of that goal as it can for you based on what your max is that you're putting in and the budget that you have there. The difference with shopping is it's a lot more manual. You can still use automation within shopping, but you can get a lot more detailed there. You can use max clicks. Max clicks oftentimes is getting a little bit more detailed, but you'll use that before you get into anything to do with driving sales, because it's a way to just get volume and to really drive people to your site so that you can get the learnings, and then you may shift into a sales-based metric at that point. But just so you know, from a Shopify perspective, our integration is limited to smart shopping. And we try and take a lot of the complexity out of it by making it just, the only element that you can actually alter in the Shopify UI is budget. The rest is all automated. So it will go out and try and maximize the conversions as much as possible for you within the Shopify interface. And if at any point you find that limiting, you can still use the app to sync your product feed and make sure you're getting all of the features that happen with that. But then you can always go in through Google and sync up so that you can do more things with that product feed if that appeals to you. Oh, okay. We're being asked, where can we find more information on smart shopping? There are two really good resources for e-commerce merchants that I love at Google. One is called the Google for Retail website, and there is a product called the Google Product Coach. So if you put in your URL or some information about your business, it will spit out a lot of different products that might be a good fit for you. So if you're not really sure where to start, that's one really great place. I also love the Google for Small Business site. They just launched a holiday hub this week. And so again, you'll get a lot of information about how to approach holiday and what solutions might be right for you. But I like those two sites the best for e-commerce merchants. And I know it can be overwhelming. So the other option is, if you are on Shopify, they have something called Shopify Gurus. There's about 5 or 6 of them that are specifically trained on Google products. And so they are experts on smart shopping. So if you ever have a really specific question and by chance you don't have a contact at Google, or you're having trouble getting through to anyone at Google, you can also go to your Shopify rep, and they have a Slack channel that will allow them to access these smart shopping experts on the Google side and give you some more custom advice. Oh, yeah, the 2 sites I mentioned are Google for Small Business and Google for Retail. You're very welcome. All right. Thanks everyone for attending. I'm hoping that they'll share my slides with you in case you need to reference them, but I wish you all a really happy and healthy Q4, and take care.